Hey everyone, I'm Brad Wood. I'm a solutions consultant here at Sketch Development. And in this video, we're talking about intake forms in the Atlassian ecosystem, utilizing three different products. So Jira, Jira Service Management, and Jira Product Discovery. Each of these products handles intake a little bit differently, and we'll walk through each one to help you choose the tool that's right for you. At Sketch Development, we're an Atlassian solutions partner, and we work with teams on consulting, licensing, and training across the entire Atlassian tool set. Intake is one of the most common problems that we help teams solve, and utilizing tools within the Atlassian ecosystem can help streamline and simplify this process, also giving you the ability to customize forms to your unique needs. So with that, let's jump into Jira for our first demo. So a while back, Atlassian introduced forms into Jira software spaces, and these can be used to capture information from end users, create work items in your Jira software space, and a whole lot more. So let's walk through this a little bit. These can be filled out by any user in the space. They can be opened up to anyone in your Jira environment, or even open to anyone on the internet. And this does include the new guest users in Jira, which are non-billable, but they're confined to a single space. So a little bit more limited there than, let's say, a JSM customer, which we'll talk more about here in just a second. But do know that there are, you do have the ability now to take intake items from free or rather non-billable accounts in Jira software. So this is the editor for the forms. It's relatively straightforward. You're going to drag and drop your fields over here. You can do some things like renaming the title of your fields. So maybe it makes a little bit more sense for your end users. So like here, I've renamed summary to idea title. You can make your forms, your fields required. So users will have to fill out those fields in order to submit the form. And then there's a little bit of conditional logic you can do here as well. So you can see like this field will show if the previous response is high in the priority field, for example. And then your users are going to access this via a unique link. Each form will have a unique link, and we can take a look at that right now. And so this is what the form is going to look like. As a consultant, one of the questions I've gotten all the time is this color customizable on your forms? The answer is no. You just get kind of assigned a random color when you create your form. But this is what it's going to look like for your end users. So they can fill out the form here, and you can see that anything with the red asterisk is required. Here is that priority field that we looked at just a second ago. And if I select high, then I'm presented with another field to fill out. I can add attachments here, and we can also add descriptions for the fields as well. So you can see here just some guiding text for our end users who are going to be submitting this form. One thing that's different from JSM, which we'll see in just a second, is the description is shown below the field. So in JSM, that's going to be right under the title of the field. We'll take a look at that in just a second. And then once our end users submit this form, they can get notifications on updates. They can access their ticket in the Jira space that this was created into. And again, this will be created in a Jira software space from this style of form. And then one other thing that we'll see in just a second that's different in JSM, with the Jira software forms, you can only choose system fields or custom fields to include on your form. And so that's a good segue into JSM, which we will hop into next for our next demo. All right, so next let's look at Jira Service Management forms. And these are going to be a lot more flexible and customizable than the Jira forms. Once you create these, they get added to request types, which get added to your JSM portal. And then your customers, aka free users, are going to fill out those forms out on the portal. And that's a little bit different than the Jira form. So we get a robust customer portal. Our customers can access multiple forms through the portal, and we'll take a look at that here in just a second. But this is just an example form. It's very similar to Jira forms in terms of some of the functionality. So like we can choose our fields can be linked to Jira fields, for example. We can rename the display name of those fields. We can add descriptions. And like I mentioned previously, those are displayed right under the name of the field itself, rather than in the Jira form, it's below the field. We can require responses. You can set some parameters on like minimum and maximum characters and things like that here. So you do have a lot more flexibility there. There are a ton of field types you can add here, and these are just form fields. So they don't have to be linked to your Jira system fields or your custom fields. They can literally just live on your form. And we've got some other fun options here, like radio buttons and checkboxes, things like that. There's a cascading drop-down option that's really nice. And we can do conditional formatting as well. So you can see here I've got this section called integration. And if the idea category is integration, then I'm going to show this other field on my form. And we'll look at that out in the portal here in just a second. So let me head over to the Help Center. And if you're familiar with JSM at all, you know that each of these portals represent different spaces in JSM. And so as a customer, I can potentially access multiple spaces that contain multiple forms, really being that like one-stop shop for all of the things I might need to submit. So you can see we've got an HR space, we've got ITSM, and then I can click into my idea intake space. And if you have multiple request types configured in your JSM space, you'll see those here. You can also group these. We haven't done that here. This is just two request types. But if you have multiple request types, maybe more than like 5 or 6, you might want to group those into categories so it's easier for your users to find them. But let's click on idea intake. And you can see I've added a description of what this form is intended to be used for as well. So submit requests for new ideas here, including new features, so on and so forth. If you allow your customers to do this, they can submit their form on request, or excuse me, on behalf of somebody else. I'm not going to do that here, but let's just fill this out real quick, and I'll just say Brad's great idea. And let's say, let's integrate Jira with our other tools. My idea category is going to be integration. And then here's that conditional field that we just talked about. I'll select Jira. And then who's affected? I'm going to say the whole organization. So I've got my form filled out here. Again, required fields are marked with the red asterisk. And I'll just click send. And then so this is going to be a little bit different too. So your customers are going to monitor and interact with their tickets out here in the JSM portal. So they can view that form that they've submitted, and here's all those fields and the values that I provided here. They can get updates on the status. They can turn on or off notifications. You could share it with other people if you're allowing your customers to do so. And then they can interact with the agents here with the comment section. I can also come up here to my avatar, and I can view all of my submitted requests here in the request section. So this is really a lot different functionality in terms of the way the form is accessed and then interacted with on the JSM side. So you do get a lot more features and interactivity here. Again, on the Jira side, everything's done within Jira. On the JSM side, the Help Center and the portals are really going to be what drives that interaction and submission with your customers. So that's 2 different tools. For our last demo, we are going to look at Jira Product Discovery. So here's a demo Jira Product Discovery space, and this is a really unique product from Atlassian. It's focused on idea intake, prioritization, delivery, kind of pre-delivery, we often refer to this as. And so these spaces are going to be separate from your Jira spaces where your delivery teams are actually working on those prioritized and committed to pieces of work. And intake is all going to be done directly within the product itself. So I can just come up here to the create button and start to create a work item here in my demo JPD space. Not all of your users in JPD are going to need paid licenses in order to submit ideas. There's a role called contributors that can create ideas, and you can give them other permissions as well. But here's the kind of intake template that we've set up here. We can see I'm going to create an idea work type. Summary is just summary. That's very typical of Atlassian products. This is really cool, though, the description field. So it behaves a little bit differently in JPD. we've got default templates, and you can actually configure custom templates to really guide your users in writing a thorough and detailed description of what their idea might be. So I'm just going to click this first one, opportunity statement. And we can see here, there's placeholder text that's really describing to me how this should be filled out. So describe the background or current situation that reveals the problem or unmet need. And they've got an example here, and so on and so forth. Like I mentioned, this is fully customizable as well. So you can take these templates and tweak them to your needs, or you can create your own. So I really like that on the JPD side for intake. There are a number of field types that are unique to JPD as well. And so I've got a couple examples of those here. First one is this kind of buttons type field. So you can see for both impact and effort, I can make selections from very low to very high and just click those here. And I think this is just like a nice interactive way for your users to not only make their selections, but visually see what they are filling out on the intake form. We've got a slider as well, so I can say, our confidence on this idea is 90%, for example. JPD also has custom formula fields that you could use once an idea has been submitted to make calculations based on the values that are provided on the intake form. And then we've got some other fun stuff like custom colors that you can add to your drop-down list here. And then once this idea has been submitted in JPD, our users can interact by adding comments, getting notifications when those field changes occur, and more. And then also, if this becomes an item that we're going to work on, we can link our Jira work items to this, and we can kind of see within both spaces, so both on the JPD side and the Jira side, how these things are connected, and get status updates on the work that's actually being done to fulfill this idea, for example. So those are 3 different products and 3 different ways that Atlassian tools can handle intake. But which tool is right for you? So let's start by looking at Jira again. And Jira is really going to be best for internal teams that have existing Jira access. So there's no additional tools to add or learn to your Atlassian suite. If simple fields and configurations are going to work best for you, like we mentioned, you are going to have to utilize those system and custom fields on the Jira intake forms. And then really, if you are, part of your process is just going to be routing these requests directly to delivery. So for example, if you're not doing discovery work, then maybe taking those intake items directly into your software delivery spaces is going to be sufficient. Next, let's look at JSM again. So if you've got a large external or even large internal user base, utilizing that free customer license can be really helpful, especially in the fact that they'll be able to access multiple spaces and multiple request forms out on the Help Center. We've got a lot more formatting and flexible field options on the JSM forms than the Jira forms. And then, like I mentioned, that dedicated portal giving our customers and agents a one-stop shop for submission, interaction, status updates, etc. And then lastly, Jira Product Discovery. So your internal product teams especially are going to really benefit from this product. Keeping that discovery and prioritization and intake separate from delivery is something that we really like a lot about JPD. You got these custom field types and templates, like the description templates, for example, just many more field options than both Jira and JSM. And like I mentioned, keeping discovery separate from delivery, giving us that dedicated space for discovery to take place. So that's 3 different ways that Atlassian tools can help you manage your intake processes, each designed for a different audience and different use case. The product that's right for you certainly depends on your organization's unique needs. It might even be a combination of products. At Sketch, we're here to help guide you through this process, ensuring the proper product is chosen and customized to meet your team's unique needs. If you want to learn more about any of these products or anything else in the Atlassian ecosystem, please feel free to reach out to me via email or LinkedIn. Both of those will be linked in the video description. Thanks again for watching and have a great day.